Hey there, Canes and Cats fans. I am Jared Ellis, host of Locked On Hurricanes, and I am joined by my friend Armando Velez of Locked On Florida Panthers as we are here to preview the Eastern Conference Final as it kicks off tonight, Game 1 in Raleigh, North Carolina. How you doing this morning, Armando?
I'm doing very well, Jared. Great to be getting together with you for not only this series, but I think this is a big celebration of the sport, especially with the geographical part of the game, where with all four teams being in the Sun Belt.
Yes, I know with Las Vegas being the northernmost team, but a lot all these teams remaining Carolina, Florida, Dallas, Vegas, they all got big storylines going around them. But of course, we are here to talk about the Hurricanes and the Panthers. But for you, what are the biggest storylines heading surrounding the Florida Panthers right now?
It's just the biggest storyline is their ability to adapt over time, and from what has happened in the regular season with a poor start and adjustments with trading for superstar player in Matthew Kachuk, who the Carolina Hurricanes were apparently in on Matthew
Mhm.
Kachuk in the offseason as well, and also a new coach and Paul Maurice, former Hurricanes head coach Paul Maurice, coming into this place and implementing a new system, and then the questions of whether this team was going to make the playoffs, and then all of a sudden in the postseason, well, not all of a sudden, but they were playing, they were having playing their backs against the wall from January on, and then really it hit to a new level come the postseason. Of course, we saw it with the upset against the Boston Bruins, best regular season team of all time, and then stopping that high power play from the Toronto Maple Leafs and their core four players. So the storylines is their ability to adjust over time throughout a season, and this Florida Panthers team is one that it's a cliche, but the way they're built is playoff built. Is
Mhm.
it's not gonna be flashy. It's not gonna like it was last year with high scoring offense, but it's a team that's gonna play very responsibly, get in on the forecheck, create opportunities off the turnover, and it's manifested in the postseason.
Yeah, and we've said, here, kind of, ever since we've been leading up to the conference final when we've been, really looking at Florida as a potential opponent. We've been saying, this team is better than their playoff seeding says. They're better than an eighth seed, I believe. Whenever everything was all said and done in the regular season, I believe they're like the 17th in the NHL
Yes.
or something like that. They're a better team than that, and you are seeing that right now. But on the flip side, for the Hurricanes, all right. So the biggest storylines for the Hurricanes on the flip side, right now, the biggest one is the potential return of Teuvo Teravainen. He had his hand broken by Jean Gabriel Pageau in round one against the Islanders on a nasty slash, and he's been out ever since. But he finally got out of the yellow no contact jersey yesterday, and which Brad Bird'amour had been saying they'd really know more once he got out of that. And he has said yesterday that they'd really know at game time, or not game time, but morning skate today, where if he's able to get out there and skate and he feels like he's ready to go, then he's gonna go. But that's probably not gonna be something we know till after morning skating. It wouldn't surprise me if they kind of put it off for a lot of the game or a lot of the afternoon leading up to the game. So I really wouldn't expect to hear much about that. I personally not really expecting to see him start off this series, but I have been wrong many times in the past. So that's just something that we're just gonna have to wait and see. Another big thing is the penalty kill having been so dominant. The Hurricanes, have been leading the NHL in penalty killing percentage, ever since the playoffs started. I believe as we're sitting here on what day is it? Thursday morning. Uh, I believe it's still, at 93%, operating at the top of all the remaining playoff teams. So if they can keep that up the way they've been going, that's going to work in their favor. So the Florida Panthers are going to have to work really, really,
Mhm.
really, really hard to try to crack it. If I remember correctly, the Islanders, I think, may have gotten one out of through their entire series. The Devils got 2 power play goals through their entire series out of all the games played. That was it. They've allowed like 3, maybe 4 power play goals.
And the Canes can score shorthanded too.
Yes, they can. They absolutely can. And that's another thing that poses a threat for them. The power play has been a bit Jekyll and Hyde this playoff, so that's going to be interesting to see if they can get more consistent out of the power play. And consistent in a good way. I should specify. Don't want consistently crap because that wouldn't be good. But if they can get to the point where it can continually look like a threat, that's going to be very important because we've seen throughout these playoffs how important the special teams battle has been.
Mhm.
We've seen it be the deciding factor in Hurricanes games. We've seen it be the deciding factor. So you're going to want it to look like a threat. Offense has been having life this playoff, especially in that series against the New Jersey Devils. We saw how, with the exception of game 5, every game was a blowout. So, the fact that they've been able to score in the playoffs where that's been an issue in the past few years, being able to get that done, that's going to be really, really important for the Hurricanes and getting that to continue. And then, should they win this series, having that continue on into the next round as well. That's going to be really, really
Mhm.
freaking important for them.
Yeah, very important for the Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers. Their power play is almost at 30%, 27% to be exact. So that's going to be the matchup to watch for this series. I mean, they scored more power play goals than the Toronto Maple Leafs in their second round series. Hard to believe with how up and down the Florida Panthers power play has been this season. Of course, they finished in the top 12 in the regular season. And going back to a player that could be coming back, Ryan Lomberg as well. He was in rushes for the Panthers practice being on that fourth line. He's used to playing with former Hurricane Eric Stahl along with Colin White there as well. It's crazy. This is a battle of the stalls in this
Mm-hmm.
in this Eastern Conference final matchup, and it's gonna really gonna be the test for the Panthers on that power play, and their PK was at 59% in the Boston series, but that number went up in the Toronto Maple Leafs series.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be more of what have you done for me lately, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to see continued from what it was in the Maple Leaf series to this.
Yeah. The Hurricanes penalty kill, of course, is fantastic. So yeah, like you said, the power plays being pretty evenly matched. So that's going to be an important battle to watch there, and one that's like you alluded to at the top, something that I feel like a lot of folks, we've been talking about a lot on my show lately, is the fact that all the remaining teams are non-traditional markets. Again, Vegas is the northernmost team, which is wild. And this is something that's grabbing a lot of headlines, nationwide. And, I think Sarah Sivian said it best the other day when she was on my shows. This is how you grow the game. You know,
Mhm.
you talk about wanting to do that, and then now you're having these, teams in these non-traditional markets. With us in Dallas, we've been in these markets for a long time, but it's still, now we're finally getting back there. You and I, especially, that's how you grow the game. There's going to be folks, watching Matthew Kachuk on this run. There's going to be folks watching Sebastian Aho on this run. Players from Dallas, players from Vegas. This is how you do it. You're having these other teams, be good. And it's absolutely great to see, and it's all different teams. It gets boring seeing the same ones all the time, and Yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to this series. And we will continue to talk about this series and key players for both sides right after this quick break. Attention active individuals, are you tired of sacrificing comfort for style when it comes to your activewear? Introducing Birddogs, the game changer in athletic shorts. Picture this: premium shorts designed for maximum performance combined with unparalleled comfort. Birddogs are here to revolutionize your workout routine. With their unique built in liner, these shorts offer ultimate support and flexibility, ensuring you stay comfortable during even the most intense workout. And here's the best part: Bird Dogs are more than just workout gear. They're versatile enough to take you from the gym to the street without skipping a beat. Designed with pockets that actually work, Bird Dogs give you ample space to store your essentials while you're on the move. Bird Dogs are made with premium breathable fabric that keeps you cool, dry throughout your activities. Perfect for the trails, the gym, or simply lounging around. Bird Dogs are the shorts you've been searching for. Order your pair of Bird Dogs today and join thousands of locked their satisfied customers who have made the switch. Visit birddogs.com/locked on NHL. I was getting ahead of myself there to get a free Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. Bird Dogs, where style meets comfort and performance meets perfection. Get yours now and unleash your true potential. Now, diving back into the Eastern Conference Final. Now, when it comes to key players, when you get this deep in the playoffs, every player is a key player. Because you're going to want everyone up and down your lineup, you know, chipping in. At this point, it can't be a one or two man pony show. It's got to be a complete team game. You know, a lot of people, get Edmonton crap. It's outside of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. You don't really have a whole lot there, and you see where that has gotten them the past few years. You know,
Mhm.
you can't go and win the Stanley Cup with just one or two guys carrying 90% of the load. You can't do that. But at this point in time, you're also going to be looking at specific guys to elevate their game that much more. But looking at the Florida Panthers side of things, who are some key players that you are looking for to elevate their game even more than what it already has been at?
I think for me, it's the third line of Lundell, Etu Lutheran, and former Hurricane as
Hmm.
well, and Sam Reinhart. I mean, there's a whole bunch of former Hurricanes, whether it's coaching staff or players that are currently
Hmm.
on this Florida Panthers roster. Etu Lutheran, of course, being part of the Vincent Trocheck, Eric Holla uh, trade uh, that also brought Lucas Walmark here as well,
Hmm.
and of course the Panthers were selling at the time in 2020, and an opportunity for Etu at the time to develop. And of course, when he was brought into the lineup, he was considered a depth piece. But man, this guy has really grown before our very eyes here in South Florida, and he's kind of he's his defensive game is very similar to an Alexander Barkov. He plays penalty kill. He's getting in your face on the forecheck, creating turnovers, and he's a very very unselfish player at Toulouse
Hmm.
Straight, and then Lundell manning that third line. Lundell's had a little bit of a struggle in his sophomore season. Has been bumped up to Barkov's wing, but that plateaued for a little bit. He had to be on the second line when Sam Bennett was out this year as well. And then it's crazy how for the Florida Panthers, the lines have started to mesh at the right time, because Nick Cousins is on that second line wing, and Nick Cousins hasn't really played on the second line really this whole season. And then you put him there in the postseason, and voila, the Florida Panthers and how they play offensively as well. Just it's just the crazy amount of opportunities they make for scoring chances as well. So the whole third line, and also Nick Cousins got the game winning goal the overtime
Mhm.
winner against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So those are my X factors there. And another one, I wanna point out another one. Brandon 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 Montour
Mhm.
is one as well. He's increased his role, with Mackenzie Weegar being shipped out in the Matthew Tkachuk trade, and he's definitely grown into what he was, even at the beginning of his Florida Panthers tenure in 2021. Of course, was on a rebuilding Buffalo team who his name was probably not brought up much in the
Mhm.
national media, of course, even before in Anaheim as well. And he's definitely grown into that bigger role, and he's pretty solid on that second pair, even though sometimes he has to make up for the mistakes of his partner, Mark Stahl, on the blue line. So those are a few players that I have listed because we know Matthew Tkachuk's gonna upset the opposition.
Mhm.
Barkov, he's always going to be on the defensive zone draws, especially. I'm expecting that him and Jordan Stahl are going to be paired up a lot, especially on the offensive zone faceoffs. Uh, I know Jordan Stahl is not really met in the situation to score goals. He's meant to stop the opponent's best players as well. We know those two. Even though we could see Barkov get a little more active on the offensive end, we know that he's going to do it on the defensive side of the puck as well. But those are a few players that I have listed as who's
Mhm.
going to hopefully make the difference for the Cats.
Yeah. So on the flip side of that, with the Hurricanes, I'm looking at our first defensive pair of Jacob Slavin and Brent Burns a lot here, because the defense is going to be key here. We've seen what the Florida Panthers can do, and you're just shutting them down completely. You talk about Jordan Stahl and what his primary role is in these sorts of situations, and that's absolutely correct. So obviously expect that. But yeah, I'm really looking at this first defensive pair, mostly Jacob Slavin on the defensive side of things. And because we all know just how good of a defensive defenseman he is. He's not a very flashy player. He just gets out there and plays arguably the best defensive game in the National Hockey League. And so you're really going to be looking at him here to, just do what he's been doing all playoff. He's had a heck of a playoff and really just turn up to 11, and just whoever he ends up being matched up with, of just shutting them down. Like, he's so good at cutting off lanes, smothering people. Like, he's just good at it all defensively. So really looking at that to continue. Obviously, the same goes for Brent Burns as well, but I also do want to see him on the offensive side of things. The Hurricanes offense, in the regular season, a lot of the time it ran through the blue line. They set a franchise record with how many points they ended up tallying up. So really going to be looking at him big time here as well, along with Brady Shea, Brett Pesci, Jalen Chatfield, Shane Gostisbehere, of course. But, Brent Burns, he scored, the 2 goals he has scored in the playoffs so far, 1 in each round, have been very freaking timely, and right when the Hurricanes needed them. And actually, I believe he scored 3. It's either 2 or 3. I'm starting to blank. So we're gonna move on from that. But yeah, he's also, been racking up assists as well. So want to see him continue just be involved in the offense, because the Hurricanes are at their best offensively when they're playing a complete team game. Moving on from him, Sebastian Aho. I know it's kind of
Yep.
cliche putting him here,
Yeah.
but if it was round 2, I'd be rolling my eyes a little bit at myself if I put him here. But no, now we're in the conference final, and Andrei Svechnikov is out. Max
Hmm.
Pacioretty is out. You don't know what's going to happen with Teuvo Teravainen, whether or not he's going to be back. So this is a time where you want your top guys to play like top guys, and whenever the going's getting tough, you know they need to be the top guy, get out there and put the puck in the back of the net or shut down the other team defensively. Aho can do it both, but this is the time when the highlights, come up, 10, 15 years from now, we see, that goal from Sebastian Aho that sent them back to the Stanley Cup final. So
Mhm.
this is the time of the year. Again, everyone needs to be elevating their play, but this is when you're going to be looking at the top guys, the star players to do star player things. All right. And a guy that had a ridiculous series against the New Jersey Devils, Jordan Martinook, a 10-point series there. Should have been 11, but they took an assist away from him because, they didn't want him to be better than Connor McDavid on
None
the
in the
score
first
sheet.
round too.
I know. Yeah, none in the first round, 10 in the second round. He absolutely
Amazing.
killed it. And, when it came to him in the first round, it wasn't that he played a bad series or anything like that. He was all over the ice. It just wasn't going in for him. The puck he just wasn't having the puck luck. And that was the downside for there. Then the second round things turned around and it got going for him and we see what happened. So I'm really looking at him to
Mhm.
continue that momentum that he's been building and
Yeah.
carry it over into this series here against the Florida Panthers. Am I expecting another 10-point series from him? No. But it
Mhm.
would be awesome. But no, I'm not expecting that. It's really, just continue to be a threat, continue to be a menace, and just do what he's been doing. Really, don't change anything. And then finally is of course Frederick Anderson. He again, I know a little cliche, but he was brought in to be the Hurricanes' number one goaltender, like Bob with Florida, and you finally got him here, and so far, Freddie, in the playoffs, with the exception of the one game, he's been playing pretty darn good. They wanted a number one goaltender when they brought him in, and he's doing everything they're asking him to do. It took quite a while, for him to make his playoff debut for the Hurricanes. It was actually, his before, game 6 against the Islanders. The last time he played a playoff game was in the bubble. It was over 900 days since he had last played a playoff game, and
Against
he
Columbus.
has, gotten right into it and hasn't missed a beat. He's, been really, really stinking good. And, on the flip side of that is, he played, game 6 against the Islanders, then all 5 games, against the New Jersey Devils. Obviously, game 3, he ended up getting pulled in favor of Pyotr Kochetkov. But, he's played in every game. He started every game. So it will be interesting to see what the Hurricanes do in net, long term in this series. Starting out, it's going to be Freddie. But, in game 2, game 3, do we see Antti Ranta? From what I'm hearing is, he is healthy again, so that's great. But, on the flip side of that, should he not be ready to go, do you see Pyotr Kochetkov? Ultimately, it's just going to be have to be something we wait and see. But also, you know, it's the playoffs. You go with the hot set of hands, and if that's Freddie Anderson, if that's Antti Ranta, if that's Pyotr Kochetkov, that's what you do. Antti Ranta, he started the first 5 games of the playoffs, so it's not like you haven't done this kind of thing before. But yeah, and again, we could go down the list of every single player on both rosters of why they're going to be a key piece for this series. So let's not think about, oh, Matthew Tkachuk, he isn't going to be important in this series. Or, Martin Necas, he's not going to be a key person in this series. No, every person is a key player now. And these were just, specific guys that we were wanting to highlight.
Yeah, yeah, and it's crazy how three goalies for the Carolina Hurricanes. How well they play around the goalies is as well. I mean, basically playing 3 all season. I mean, and for the Florida Panthers side of things, credit to Alex Lyon and helping the Florida Panthers get here. Former Hurricane Alex Lyon, who won a
Mm-hmm.
Calder championship with the Chicago Wolves last year, by the way, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and starting the series, and then ever since Sergei Bobrovsky being hot, and ever since coming into Game 3 against the Boston Bruins, had a rough Game 4 against them, And then ever since that, Sergei Bobrovsky has just been lights out as far as stopping pucks, especially stopping the superstar players in both Boston and Toronto. And the save of the playoffs right now is that breakaway that he had on Brad Marchand in Game 5 right before overtime, and then the Florida Panthers end up winning that game. And who would have thought that after that we would have seen 8 more playoff games for the Panthers plus 4 more max, so 12 total after stopping that breakaway from Marchand.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really, really fun series, for sure. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing, what player is going to step up, on both sides. Who are we gonna see? Like in round two, we saw Jordan Martinook, a guy you don't expect, 10 points in 5 games. You don't expect that from him.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be really exciting to see who is next for both sides, for the Hurricanes and the Panthers. It's going to be really fun to see who steps up to help their team get over this hump. But you know, after this quick break, we're going to get into the X factors for the series and things that could really make a difference in this series. And we will dive into that right after this quick break, folks. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is the perfect fit. And it's the same for when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts accessories, head over to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part fits just right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check, knowing it to be a perfect fit or your money back, because just like in sports, confident is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. With over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. And it's easy to bring home all of the right price it bring home a win when all the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available for US customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Now, again, with X factors, this is something we can be here, all day long, till puck drop talking about. So obviously, probably gonna be something that you may feel that we should be mentioning for either side, and we didn't get to it. But again, this is something right now where
Mhm.
every little thing is going to matter.
Yeah.
Whether it's a big little thing, like Tavo Teravainen, whether it's a little tiny thing, you know, it's gonna be every little thing matters that much more at this point in time. But
Mhm.
for the Florida Panthers, what are your X factors or other little miscellaneous tidbits of information going on around them right now?
I just think when it comes to that, you know that in the postseason, you are it's not going to be a lot of high scoring games. I mean, and
Mhm.
credit to the Panthers that they've been able to play in these low scoring games, and it really comes down to the goaltending as well and how they perform on the penalty kill. And listen, also the Panthers don't necessarily have to win the possession battle necessarily in this game. I mean, in every single regular season matchup for the Panthers versus the Hurricanes, the Hurricanes won the Corsi 4 percentage. I mean, but both of these teams are top 5 in the NHL in Corsi 4 percentage. So it's gonna be interesting
Mhm.
which way the ice tilts towards that. Uh, towards that, and these two teams are very different from the first 3 matchups. I mean, the first 2 came in the first 3 months of the season. I mean, one was the first week of November where we were wondering whether there was going to be a cancellation or a postponement of the game due to funny enough, not really, a hurricane
Mhm.
coming into
Yeah.
South Florida, and then the Florida Panthers shutting out the Hurricanes, the and then the next month in December, right before the New Year, Hurricanes shut out the Panthers and scored 3 power play goals, and then the 4th one was just as the power play was ending for Carolina, and then they shut out. Bobrovsky hasn't seen the Hurricanes at all this season. The first 2 matchups was Spencer Knight versus Antti Ranta, and then the 3rd matchup was Alex Lyon versus Freddie Anderson. So
Mhm.
we're I'm wondering. I'm wondering how Bob Bobrovsky is going to see this matchup and how he's going to perform when he hasn't seen this specific team at all this season. And of course, the changes that the minor changes, excuse me, that Carolina went through in the trade deadline, getting a Shane Gostisbehere in the blue line, getting a Jesse Puljujarvi, even though he's been in and out of the lineup for
Mhm.
Carolina as well. These are two teams that made moves or lack thereof moves as far as minor things and still made it this far. Just goes to show that you don't have to go super aggressive in the trade deadline to make it this far. I mean, zero trade deadline moves for the Panthers at all. And they made it here. They were 9 points out as early as January, and they got in with 92 points. So it's also it's also credit to both GMs of Don Wardell and Bill Zito, how they knew when to pivot when when the going got tough for the Florida Panthers side of things, and then for the Carolina Hurricanes side of things, knowing when to add. I mean, they viewed their trade deadline acquisition as Max Pacioretty with his Achilles
Mhm.
injury. It's funny because with Anthony Duclair, with seeing how Pacioretty went down, I was thinking Duclair needs to watch what happened with Pacioretty and not rush himself back as well, because Pacioretty got injured after Duclair with his
Mhm.
Achilles and came back before.
Yeah,
So
so he tore his Achilles in the off season, practicing. Then he came back, played like I think it was like 5 or 6 games, and tore it again.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's just kinda I guess he hit a groove in the ice or something, and tore it again. Yeah,
yeah,
he really didn't play a whole lot. He came back, right before the trade deadline. And at the time, I was even one of the people that were thinking the Hurricanes should go get someone like Timo Meyer
mhm,
at the deadline. And because at the time, it felt like, okay, yeah, we need someone to get us over get us over in the playoffs
mhm,
because in previous years, offense has just dried up in the playoffs and it has been god awful, and they haven't been able to score goals, and that was why Max Pacioretty was brought in the first place to help give the offense life. So obviously, looking back in hindsight, didn't need to do that. We had all the pieces here already for them to, get over that hump in the playoffs. It's just going to be maintaining it. And that's really my biggest X factor for the Hurricanes is can they maintain the offense? Because, we've talked about, Teuvo Teravainen. Obviously, that will be an X factor of whether or not he can come back and when he can come back. Uh, but yeah, because of the Hurricanes offense, in previous playoffs, it just being so bad and it's such a non-factor. You know, it's finally able we're finally seeing what it can do. So for it to be able to actually work, that's a massive X factor for them. And, you talk about, what the both teams did at the trade deadline. It's really a testament, you know, trusting the process. I know a lot of, Hurricanes fans, myself included, have given, the Hurricanes a lot of crap over the years of the we like our group, type stuff. And, because a lot of it stems back to the Ron Francis days when they would never do anything, and we saw what was going on with them then. So, you know, it this is showing like, hey, you know, not every team has to go and make a big blockbuster trade because look at the teams who did. You know,
mhm.
Rangers are out, Maple Leafs are out, Bruins are out, Devils are out. All the teams that made these really, really big trades at the deadline, they ain't playing no more. It was, it's us and teams that really didn't do anything and that are, really built to win in the playoffs. I think you said it best. These are teams that are built to win in the playoffs, and we're seeing it right now.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, and and of course, we can't deny the Florida Panthers winning the President's Trophy this last year, and then a good part of the core coming back. I know they had a shakeup with Matthew Kachuk coming in, but when you have that experience, that a lot of people were talking about how this isn't your normal eighth seed going into the postseason. Of course, with the experience factor in Paul Maurice as well, this is definitely gonna be help them get a little bit of a leg up even going into the postseason. And hey, look what happens. You win 2 rounds, and and they're here to get an opportunity to advance to their first Stanley Cup final since 1996. And Raleigh has been a house of horrors for the Panthers ever since really the Hurricanes moved from Hartford to Raleigh. I mean, 2000s, the Florida Panthers on the road in Raleigh are 5-21-2. 2010, 17, excuse me, 7-13-0. And then in the 2020s, 4-5-0. That's according to McCube.net as well. So it's gonna be a little bit of a tough battle for the Florida Panthers to get to they because they'll need to win one game at least in order to win this series. But they've been outstanding on the road too. They're 6-1
Mhm.
on the road in the postseason, so no place intimidates these Panthers.
Yeah, I think you kind of said it best earlier. It's what have you done for me lately?
Mhm,
Given the fact that they have so consistently lost in Raleigh over the past few decades. That's not great for them. Even that's counting the dark years for the Hurricanes as well when they were not good to put it lightly. Uh, so for the Hurricanes, they I think for them it's very it's very i- it's a weight off their shoulders that they've gotten back to the conference final because it kept being a second round exit, and getting over that hump, and you know everyone was expecting the Boston Bruins to win the Stanley Cup. All right, yeah, they're the best, regular season team of all time. We were all expecting, all right, it'll probably be Carolina and Boston in the conference final. Boston goes on. That's kind of what everyone was expecting coming out of
mhm,
the East, and that's not the case. So it does feel like, all right, the Hurricanes' biggest opposition and biggest threat is gone. It feels like, hey, this team, I mean, obviously, if you get in the playoffs, you have a shot. Because anything can happen on any given night. We've seen that many times before. Seen with the Florida Panthers. No one was expecting to win against the Bruins and the Leafs, but they did. But you know, it really feels like this Hurricanes team has a shot. You know,
mhm,
to get it done, and I feel that they are. I feel one thing that was important for them was, giving them the edge over, New Jersey was their playoff experience. Because New Jersey, has guys on that roster that have been to the playoffs, but as a whole, as a very young team with hardly any with well, we'll say a little playoff experience here because of those veteran guys on there. But everyone on the Hurricanes has playoff experience. And, this core group, they've, learned how to lose. And I think that was important
mhm,
for them because, they got, a taste of winning in the playoffs, going to the conference final in 2019. And then, they've won at least one playoff series in every season under Rod Brind'amour as head coach. So for the past, now 5 years, they've won at least one playoff series. So it's also they know how to win in the playoffs. They know how to win a series, but they also know how to lose a series.
mhm,
And they've gotten tired of it. We've heard what Sebastian Aho has had to say after these playoff exits. It's never good, and they're sick of it. Plain and simple. They want to win. This is an extremely, extremely competitive team, and you have again, everyone on this team has playoff experience. With guys, having played in the Stanley Cup final, guys having won the Stanley Cup final. All right. Yeah. So when they're sitting in the locker room talking about stuff, these guys are like, all right, hey, I know what it's like to get here, or I know what it's like to hoist that trophy. And it's very much akin to Brind'amour is your head coach. These guys have been there and done that. They know what they're talking about. They're not just some guy, saying, whatever. They know what they're talking about. And every guy, they've been here. They know what it takes to win. And I do think that is one thing that could give them the edge over the Florida Panthers is their combined playoff experience. Again, like Florida Panthers, like the New Jersey Devils, they have guys on that roster with playoff experience. Yeah, and it's not like, they're not the New Jersey Devils. Yeah, the Florida Panthers, they have more playoff experience than the Devils combined. Obviously, they went, last year, and you have different guys on that roster that have had playoff experience in different places, but it just feels like, as a whole, the Hurricanes, they learned how to lose together and they learned how to win together. And that's going to be what, in my opinion, is going to give them the edge over the Florida Panthers. But, series predictions. First off, neither team is getting a sweep here. I
No,
think
I
we're
agree.
all in agreement in that. I think this is a series that goes 6-7 games. I am going to say Hurricanes in 7. What about you, Armando?
It's crazy because the first two series for the Panthers, I picked Boston in 6 in the first one, and I picked Maple Leafs in 6 for the second one in their series. Of course, this was a gap. This was supposed to be your supposed gap year for the Panthers with a whole bunch of dead cap on their
Mhm,
books with about 6.4 million as well. But how this team has been brought together and how they've been able to change their game in the postseason with playing these low scoring games. I mean, Carolina, identity wise, is of all their opponents is probably the most identical to the Panthers
mhm.
as far as style of play,
Yeah, I
uh,
agree.
as far as opponent. So this is even though record wise, and even though Matthew Kachuk has said, "Oh, even though you beat the best team, the best thing about it is you get to face the second best team." But I don't. But as far as this, it's of course it's all about matchups, and this one is going to be
Mhm,
by far the hardest yet. I know the further you advance, the harder it's going to be. But as far as how these two teams are built, it's going to be tough for the Panthers. And the Carolina Hurricanes have been knocking on the door for the last 4 seasons,
mhm,
but the Florida Panthers have made me a believer here, Jared.
mhm,
And I think that it's kind of like a Cinderella story. It's kind of like a for this team. It's just about being hot at the right time, and I think their road to the Eastern Conference Finals gives them a heck of an opportunity that they feel that they're confident that they'll play with anyone. So I picked the opposition in the first two series, and it's funny because I picked the Carolina Hurricanes preseason to make the Stanley Cup final against the
mhm.
Edmonton Oilers, but Edmonton's no longer there in the postseason. But as far as this, I'm changing it. I'm saying that the Florida Panthers will be the one to win this series. I'm going to say Florida in 7. I think it's going to be. I think, and to make it a little spicier, I think it's going to be an overtime winner too. And
Oh, we're
yeah,
just gonna have to wait and see on that. Again, this is a series. It's gonna be a war between
yeah,
these 2 teams, uh, and it's gonna be really, really fun. It's funny, you picked, Carolina and Edmonton, the '06 matchup,
hmm
running it back in, the Hurricanes' 25th anniversary season, so that would have been a lot of fun as well, but this is going to be a really, really fun series. I think, you talk about, how these teams are, pretty identical or matchups, are, going to be very similar. I think, that's very, very true. And I think, one thing that'll work in the Hurricanes' advantage, something I didn't bring up, in when I was talking about why I felt the Hurricanes would win, is the matchups, of what they're getting put out on the ice. Rod Brind'amour, when they're here, he's gonna have that advantage, and that we saw that, in that second round series against New Jersey, of how he was able to put Jordan Stahl's line out there against Jack Hughes' line and just absolutely smother and shut them down. I think we're going to see some coaching chess battle
Yes, for
type
sure.
stuff here,
And they know each
and
other.
that's going to be one that's also going to be really fun to watch,
Mhm.
because you've mentioned a lot about the Hurricanes connection down there in Florida. With I really don't put a lot of stock into it. It's kind of one thing you and I and the rest of the media are, playing up more than the actual teams. But it is worth noting Paul Maurice coached Rod Brind'amour to the Eastern Conference Final in 2001 and
Twice.
2009, with them getting to the Stanley Cup Final that first time, and then now they'll be coaching against each other here in 2023. So you do feel, some of the things Rod Brind'amour does, picked up from Paul Maurice, during his day. Obviously, Brind'amour is very much his own coach. He isn't trying to emulate anyone, but it's going to be a chess battle out there, coaching wise as well. It's not just going to be the battle on the ice that's going to affect the outcome of the day. It's also going to be that coaching battle as well. But yeah, at the end of the day, we can sit here and talk until the pigs and the Panthers come home. But yeah, it worked better for your mascot, not mine. But
Mhm.
we could sit here and talk all day, but at the end of the day, we just got to get to puck drop to see what happens tonight. In the meantime, Armando, where can everyone find you and your show?
They can follow me on Twitter at MondoMan12. Follow the show account on Twitter and Instagram at LO_FLA Panthers. Of course, Locked On Panthers, wherever you listen to podcasts. And final words, long live the Southeast Division.
Yes, long live the Southeast Division. And of course, you can find myself on Twitter at Jared Ellis _96. You can find the show on Twitter at LO_Hurricanes. It is also going to be available on all stream platforms as well as the Sirius XM app, the SXM app. You can just search Locked On Hurricanes or Locked On Panthers or all of your other favorite Locked On shows. They will be available over there as well. And then you can also find Locked On Hurricanes on YouTube at Locked On Hurricanes. And we will talk to you guys later. And as always, for the Hurricanes, let's go Hurricanes. And for you, Armando,
I guess go Cats go, because that's what the arena has been doing lately. So
well,
go
there
Cats
you
go.
go. Let's go Canes. And well, for you, go Cats go. But, don't go Cats.